Nobody's counting. The points don't matter in Big 12 basketball. It's like everybody is just kind of around 500 enough for none of it to make a ton of sense. And the one pressing question we'll start with, like, I want to get into how UCF just walloped Oklahoma, and it looked a lot like the Kansas game where they're much more physical. Cincinnati goes on the road to beat Texas Tech. Question mark. The big one here for me, though, Houston and Kansas. Kansas has the better starting five. I don't love Kansas' bench. They didn't really need it to beat Houston. 78-65. Neutral site. Who's the better team?
Houston.
Oh, wow.
I'm sticking with that. I've been on the Cougs bandwagon a little bit. But what's funny about Kansas, and it's no blowout by any means on the neutral court. But what's interesting about Kansas is even a couple weeks ago, we were saying, they don't have the best starting five, and they've really got a hole at that fifth starter spot. And Furphy stepped in, and he's been excellent. He's been player of the game a couple of times since then. And so now it does shift the focus to they're not a deep team. They're super talented in that top five, and they play a good brand of basketball. But I do wonder how much depth hurts them in the tournament and how much it hurts them or it hurts any team in the NCAA tournament overall. Yes, Drake, you have a question.
Yeah, I do. Right here in the front, Drake Toll, Party Animals. I think I've started to change my mind to the idea that the team that wins March has the best starting five. That they're just by the time you get to the Final Four, you have enough rest. You hit that second gear, and it's just this team like depth. If you have 9 great guys, I think Baylor's seen this. You have 9 great athletes. That doesn't matter. All you need is 6 or 7 to win a national championship. The fact that Kansas has 5 that really scare me makes me still think they're the best team in the league.
Well, yeah. I mean, having the depth really just makes you feel better about it's not ever going to hurt you, but it's not like to compare it to professional sports. And in this case, the NBA, I mean, if you don't have depth off the bench, like you can't make that run. But I would agree with you. And we saw it with Baylor's national championship team. They had some good pieces off the bench, but I wouldn't say that was like a 9 deep team. It was a big deal when Duke won it in 2015 when they dismissed Rasheed Suleiman in the middle of the season. It was like, they only have 8 rotational guys. Can they actually win with this? And they made it a whole rallying cry. 8 is enough and everything. And it was more than enough. They won the national championship. So yeah, I don't know if it's that big a deal. It would more worry me as a Kansas fan just in the conference schedule getting worn down a little bit. But Houston, it was one of those rare games that happens to really good teams where Kansas kind of mentally beat them early on with their hot shooting out of the gate. It kind of got Houston out of their game a little bit, and they really never got back in it. I mean, Kansas kept them at arm's length the rest of the way. It was actually really impressive. That just didn't have the same kind of intensity on the defensive end that Houston's used to having. They weren't getting the hands in the passing lanes like they're used to having. And we didn't have to go through the Fog Allen whistle.
Can we play a word association game really quick?
Please.
I'm going to give you 2 words. You give me 1 word.
Just get the drop button ready. Yeah, sure.
Jeff Goodman.
Bad.
Yeah. I like clown.
It's not funny, man. I was thinking not funny, but that's 2 words. So
that is 2 words. And it's like
just humorless. That's better. Humorless. Like not killing people that bad, but just humorless person, man.
No Stalin comparisons. We're not. Yeah, this is
not yet. We're getting there though.
I like everything he does. I don't have beef with him personally. I mean, I've been around the guy a couple of times at like Baylor events and stuff, and we've never interacted because he's not that guy. And again, I go to Jeff Goodman's YouTube page. There's not a lot there. Like they're pumping out like 10 videos a day, and not a lot of folks are glued to that stuff.
No.
And I once again, like I watch 365 Sports, and I still watch who are the guys that host that show that beat about us a while ago. What do they call it? The Monty Show. I think that's a fun. Look, dude, 10-12 Network and Heartland College. Like those dudes I don't like poo-pooing on other people. But dude, like the Goodman stuff just drives me up a wall. And this weekend proves it to me. It's like, dude, like, just watch basketball. Just you and your friends just watch the Big 12 before you say that it's overrated or that it's not living up to expectation. And my examples would be like Cincinnati going to beating Texas Tech or UCF beating Oklahoma. And the whole reason that I think the Big 12 is so good, every team, Cameron, that is competitive in this league will spend some time in the top 25, sometime in the top 10, and sometime just not ranked. That's the nature of this league.
And that's, I was actually, funny you say this, because wondering this at the end of last week, I was like, I don't watch a lot of national college basketball coverage anymore. Like, is anyone talking about how like historically good this league is? Yeah. And I think it just falls into the people's mindset of, by the way, Tech lost to Cincinnati. They're not ranked, or, Texas beat TCU. TCU's ranked. What are they doing losing to unranked Texas? They lost a big game a few weeks ago. Whereas to your point, which is the better point of look how many teams get into the top 25 throughout the year. That shows that it's not just frauds here. It is good teams beating other good teams, like night in, night out. How many of these teams get in? How many of these teams receive votes? And then come, a month and a half from now, how many are going to make the tournament? Because, and there are going to be some good basketball teams in this conference that don't make the tournament, which is incredible. I mean, I can't go back more than 15 years really with any kind of expertise, but it's probably the best conference there's ever been. Screw it. It's the best conference there's ever been.
Like the ACC is looking at 3 teams that Lenardi's projecting to get in right now. The mighty ACC. The Big 12 has 10 teams in the net top 40.
And I'll give you this. I watched a bit of Virginia Clemson the other day. Clemson, which spent some time in the top 25 this year. Virginia's 8-3 in the ACC. The same record as Duke in the ACC. And I think the same amount of losses as Carolina in the ACC. Not ranked. Yeah. Haven't been the whole year. No buzz around them whatsoever. Too. Like that's a national championship team a few years ago. That shows really the level of competition in the ACC, because they're beating Clemson, they're beating Notre Dame, they're beating Virginia Tech and Pitt. And who the hell are these guys? I think what's damning.
Fun nugget for you that I actually calculated today. When I started college, Baylor was 50 games below 500 all time. When I ended college, Baylor was 50 games above 500 all time. That's pretty good.
100-game winning streak. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Sure. Ish. Coming up, Brett Yormark is going to fire some people. This is Locked On Big 12, man. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. I could quit all my jobs right now. Even Locked On, and just make money off FanDuel. It's like the best passive income possible, because I go and Quinnipiac is playing Siena. You best bet I'm going to bet on Quinnipiac. Or if you're not a maniac, you can bet on the Super Bowl at America's #1 sportsbook. You go in, Patrick Mahomes over under 285 passing yards or whatever it is. And you can bet on Patrick Mahomes to do that. How fun is that? You can just go in there and say Patrick Mahomes is going to have some passing yards, and then FanDuel will give you money. That's what I do. So right now, which players will score a touchdown? How many points will be scored? Super Bowl 58, FanDuel, you. $200 in bonus bets. Your first $5 bet wins at FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel.com/lockedon. You get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL.